a couple of opportunities, but the demand was high. In the end, they held on to Hellickson. Do you like the fact that they did not move Jeremy Hellickson?
I didn't really think they had to. When you consider that this offseason, if they offer a qualifying offer to Hellickson, then they're going to get a late first-round pick back. So essentially, they would have to get more than that in return if they traded him. And if they don't get that in return, if they weren't offered that, then there really is no incentive to trade him. Plus the fact that if you trade him, then you have a rotation with 5 rookies, essentially, and you have no veteran.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, do you think they were in a situation of power here with Hellickson the way some of these other – I mean, there was a lot of moves with pitching specifically. Do you think the Phillies were right in their demand?
I think so. Just thinking about that draft pick that they could get the offseason for the qualifying offer, they had to either aim high, or it really doesn't benefit them that much to trade him. You know, when you look at the makeup of the whole roster, if you have some of these rookies give you what we saw Aaron Nola give the Phillies a few weeks ago, Zach Eflin had a couple of rough starts. It's bad for the entire roster if you don't have somebody who can at least come in, pitch every 5th day, and give you a serviceable start. You don't get those big blow-ups from Hellickson. So there's a certain stability that comes with keeping Hellickson. So if you're going to give that up, then you really might as well just keep him.
Frank Klose is with us, 97.3 ESPN.com. In the end, Hellickson seemed to be the one name. Gomez, the catchers, maybe, I don't know, Borges being hurt kind of threw him out of the mix. But did you anticipate something happening today?
I thought there might have been a chance with Gomez. We saw all the big-name closers get traded, the likes of Aroldis Chapman and Andrew Miller. Gomez is kind of the next tier, but the same kind of thing holds true with Gomez. If you have nobody in your bullpen who's a reliable veteran reliever, then all these young pitchers are going to see their good games go to waste because the bullpen's going to blow them. So almost for their psyche, you need to keep somebody like him who is under team control for next year as well. So there is a lot of value that comes with keeping Gomez. And who knows, in the offseason, maybe if they get some more veteran arms and they're more comfortable, they could still move him, but he's still under Phillies control next year too.
Yesterday after the game, Pete Mackinnon kind of indicated there's going to be changes. He mentioned Hellickson by name. That didn't seem to happen. But what changes can we anticipate, and when do we see them?
Well, I think they might need to do something with some of the bullpen. Right now, they're still only with one left-hander with Brett Oberholzer. Probably the only thing they can do is bring up Elvis Araujo again or something, or maybe even James Russell. I kind of wonder if Andrew Bailey is on shaky ground right now. He got off to a nice start, but he hasn't done much of anything lately. And then giving up that home run to our old pal Jeff Francoeur, I think that might have been it. I think that after that, I think they might realize that he's just not giving them anything at this point. And when you consider how good his start was with the Phillies versus where he sits now, I wonder if they might make a move with Bailey.
Yeah, I guess people forget, keep in mind that the Phillies could still make a trade in August, though the players would have to go through waivers, and sometimes that's a little, shaky whether or not that happens. But, what about, all right, we're in a situation where August is coming around, maybe into September. Nick Williams, J.P. Crawford, Aaron Altair, you got a bunch of guys up here. How do you think they play making these call-ups with what they currently have on this roster?
I don't think they're going to let anybody necessarily block somebody who should come up. I think if they absolutely would have to, they'll find a way to cut somebody like Borges. There's been plenty of instances in previous years where an August deal's been made, or they let somebody claim somebody like Borges on waivers just to move him on. Cody Ashley has minor league options. So if they're unsatisfied with Cody Ashley's performance, they could always send him down and bring up Nick Williams if they feel Nick Williams is ready. So far, they haven't indicated as such, but it would be kind of nice to see an outfield for the rest of the season of Nick Williams, Odubel Herrera, and Aaron Altair. So they have some parts they can move. I mean, they're not married to a lot of these veterans, so they could just cut somebody. Usually they don't seem to do that, just even for the dignity of the player. But I think if you're looking at a situation where you get to August and they throw some of these veteran-type players like Borges on waivers, they just let the claiming team have him, or say it's for trade for cash considerations or something along those lines. So I think if they really feel that a player needs to come up, they'll find a way. But if not, I think it just kind of gives them time to decide.
Would you have moved Velasquez if for the right deal?
I would. If I were the Phillies, I would listen on everybody, and even if it includes players that you kind of like and are good players. I think part of the problem with the Phillies in the past was they just fell in love with their players, and they wanted those particular players there for a long time, and they never really thought outside the box. Like even back in the day, if they had traded Bobby Abreu and they couldn't find Vladimir Guerrero, they could have traded Ryan Howard and signed Mark Teixeira. And then meanwhile, getting some prospects back and at the same time making steps forward at that position. So I think they're out of that mindset where they used to be with, well, we already have a fill in the blank, and it matters who it is that closed off their thought process. So I think you at least need to listen on somebody like Velasquez. The Phillies have a great number of young starters, and if you can flip one, I know he could be a nice piece going forward. But if you had some injury concerns, which they did, they did rework the deal because he had a little bit of an injury concern, and you feel like you've got other depth, then you have to at least list them. I think the fact that the Phillies were asking for 2 offensive pieces, which seemed to be the prevailing thought among those that were reporting it, they still have some offensive holes. So, if for some reason the Rangers said, yeah, we'll give you Joey Gallo, you plug him right in, and he's your 40 home run first baseman if all goes well, or left fielder, depending on how the situation plays out. So you don't want to close your opportunities off just because you like a guy. So I actually really like the forward thinking that the Phillies are willing to have a conversation, even if it's on a good player, because what matters most is the greater picture, which will mean wins in the end.
Yeah, and I agree. I would have been open to moving him for the right deal, and I thought the fact that they were looking for some young bats was a good sign there, because they do have some pitching in the rotation, in the system there. Jake Thompson's another guy. Do you anticipate with this trade not going down of Hellickson, does that block Thompson being able to come up?
I don't think so necessarily. I do think you will see them try to back off a lot of the young starters, Velasquez included, Aaron Nola, Jared Eichhoff. They may go with 6-man rotation come September when the rosters expand. I think once the rosters expand, you can do anything because you'll have plenty of options. Right now, the Phillies can't go 6 men because there's not enough spaces on the roster. So if you had a 6-man in the rotation, well, then you got to subtract from somewhere else, and I don't think they're ready to do that. So come September, I think you'll see Thompson, you'll see Nick Williams for sure. If there's an injury between now and then, I think either of them could come up, but I don't think they really feel like they have to rush. I think that they still are trying to squeeze something out of Cody Ashe and see if he can help them going forward. But I think once rosters expand, really, then they have the opportunity to do those kinds of things.
Frank Klose says the mailbag getting ready, I'm sure, for tomorrow. We'll have Frank on tomorrow at 2:30 with the mailbag questions. A lot probably coming in on the trade deadline and what's next for the Phillies now that they move on, and they can still deal one of these guys after the deadline. So that doesn't mean that these guys are all here to stay, but we'll keep an eye on that. Frank Klose, of course, 97.3 ESPN.com, part of SportsTalkPhilly.com and Philadelphia.com. Check out all of their Phillies news over at Philadelphia.com. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Mike.